We acknowledge that Western University is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and Choctaw nations, on the lands connected with the London Township and Sombre Treaties of 1796, and the Dish with One Spoon Covenant Wampum. With this, we respect the long-standing relationships that Indigenous nations have to this land, as they are the original caretakers. We acknowledge historical and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada, and we request on behalf of this public institution to contribute towards land back or reparation initiatives alongside revealing and correcting miseducation, as well as renewing respectful relationships with Indigenous communities through our teaching, research, and community service.
For our CEL project, we partnered with Stem2Stern. The organization runs a community boat building program as a way to teach various skills in a hands-on way, particularly focusing on helping underserved youth in the London area. Stem2Stern has a goal of broadening its existing program to promote environmental stewardship in children, which is where our focus has been this term. According to their mandate, Stem2Stern strives to empower the marginalized members of our community to reach their full potential as the stewards of our natural environment through the craft of building and launching a wooden boat. We develop the soft skills of socialization and the hard skills of employment readiness. Building resiliency to support the mental health of our participants stands as the main pillar of our program. The organization is predominantly run by one person, Stem2Stern's founder, David Vine. At this time, the organization is running efficiently with no paid staff, just relying on David's direction and expertise, as well as an ever-changing team of volunteers. Stem2Stern plans to facilitate around 20 workshops this year at different schools around the London area. Each team build has at least 4 volunteers from each school helping the group of kids learning to build these boats at David's direction. Because Stem2Stern is mobile and relies on different volunteers at each build, the program structure is fluid and always evolving and expanding. The program also receives support from and works with organizations in the community like Western University, the Thames Valley District School Board, the Fanshawe Yacht Club and Sailing School, the City of London and the Middlesex London Health Unit, and various other conservation authorities and community service organizations. This broad network of volunteers allows the organization to expand on new ideas and to mold the program to each group of kids' specific learning needs.
The intensification of climate change and the destruction of the natural world by human actions is increasing rapidly. The creation of the concept sustainability has given attention to the social and human aspects of ecological conservation. In the last couple of decades, children's lives have predominantly moved indoors, instigating a loss of free-ranging exploration. It is well founded in research the importance of children having free, unstructured play in nature and natural environments close to where they live and go to school. Children who report a sense of connection with nature statistically report a greater sense of well-being and overall health. Research suggests that because nature connection involves openness to experience and awareness of ecosystem interdependencies, that these concepts encourage innovative, holistic, and creative thinking. A preliminary investigation into the psychosocial benefits of nature experience for children found that children who spend less time outside demonstrate less pro-social behaviors later in life. Children who are pro-social tend to report higher scores of self-perceived general health, mental well-being, and most consistently pro-social characteristics are correlated with positive affect. Positive affect refers to positive emotions and emotional expressions, including cheerfulness, pride, enthusiasm, energy, and joy. A systematic literature review on the benefits of children's engagement with nature found that living nearby green spaces is associated with greater physical activity and improvements in mental health and emotional regulation, both for specific groups of children, such as children who have ADHD, and for children in general. Further, play in natural environments leads to improvements in motor fitness for preschool children. Experience of green environments is associated with greater environmental knowledge and healthier eating habits. Spending time in nature as a child is associated with pro-environmental attitudes and feelings of connection with the natural world well into adulthood, as well as a stronger sense of place. And finally, conservation activities on school grounds and nearby open spaces are associated with improved psychosocial health.
The opportunities children have to connect to the natural world around them are critically important for the preservation of the biosphere. We know that meaningful childhood experiences in nature, where children can explore and take appropriate risks, are fundamental to fostering a sense of oneness and allyship with nature. It is that allyship that, when properly nurtured, motivates environmental conservation actions later in life. It follows then, as people's experiences of nature decline, that their interest in nature tends to diminish. This causes a reduction in motivation to seek out natural areas, and as parents, they are more likely to pass their disengagement to their children, which has the potential to become a generational shift. There is a growing body of research that is recognizing well-founded indigenous philosophies that our mental, physical, and spiritual health are heavily impacted by our association with nature. During our literature review, we found that there were two streams of research that investigate young people's feelings of connection with nature, and each of these streams developed independently. The first stream presents nature connection as a positive experience, in that it investigates self-reported measures of sense of oneness with nature and identification with nature. The second stream investigates the painful side of connection with nature, caused by environmental loss, the grieving of natural spaces, and crumbling ecosystems. These two streams of research are important because historically, children and young people have been portrayed as victims of the climate crisis, who must contend with the efforts of anthropogenic climate change. This status negates the social power that children and young people possess in themselves and as influencers of their family and parental decisions, as well as failing to account for the fact that children are the future actors who will be responsible for responding to the environmental failings we can account thus far. This status also reduces their perceived agency, despite reports from the World Health Organization that it is children who will suffer most illness, injuries, and deaths caused by climate change. As young as 3 years old, toddlers can equate that behaviors that harm the environment and those that target another person are both wrong. Less than 1 year later, they perceive the behaviors that harm the environment as less severe. While early moral views of the environment appear to be malleable, their perceptions become more complex with age, and young people tend to condemn behaviors that target the natural world. Adolescence has been described as the developmental period with an increased moral sensitivity, owing to more abstract thinking, greater perspective-taking abilities, and greater knowledge about societal issues. Longitudinal prospective studies demonstrate the difficulty to measure pro-environmental behaviors, such as energy conservation at home and with transport, waste reduction, recycling, and proper disposal of hazardous household waste at 18 years of age, as environmental engagement is in flux during this period of development. Research purporting to wait until the age of adulthood to emphasize the importance of concepts like sustainability, environmental conservationism, and connection to nature and natural environments based on individual agency fails to account for the development of passion that takes root in childhood and the power that meaningful childhood experiences have, creating a lifetime of environmental stewardship and self-efficacy in their ability to become agents of change.
We began our CEL project at a unique transition point in the Stem2Stern organization. Community outreach and participation, sustainability, and centering growth opportunities for children and adolescents have always been at the core of Stem2Stern's values. In a singular boat build, a group of approximately 12 students work for 30 hours over the course of 5 days. In addition to the 12 students building the boat, other groups from the school join in different ways. For example, the students in the art department may decorate the boat, and the students in the English as a second language program may write a report about the collaborative construction efforts. David and his team take on approximately 20 builds per year, and at the end of the school year, the teams have the opportunity to meet each other at their collective launch on Fanshawe Lake. Students share their experiences of their respective builds, each one a 12-foot long and 12-foot wide flat-bottom rowboat called a bevan. After this, the boats have previously been returned to their respective schools. To expand on Stem2Stern's commitment to sustainability and providing leadership and growth opportunities for children and young adults, as well as employable skills, we recognize that the enthusiasm the kids had for the build could be transferred to environmental conservationism. We wanted to utilize the building experience to provide kids with opportunities to get involved within their own communities beyond their school. Our intention was to create experiences that nurture connections with nature, that allow children to develop an ecological identity, that builds constructive hope and fosters environmental activism and stewardship. After exploring and discussing different environmental stewardship educational programs and organizations, we reached out to the London Environmental Network to inquire about utilizing the boats and student volunteers for shoreline cleanups.
Shoreline cleanups in London will give students the opportunity to be engaged in their local community, develop an ecological identity, participate in natural world socialization, build constructive hope, provide an avenue where students can continue to build self-confidence and understand their power as agents of change, and practice healthy coping mechanisms. Ecological identities are the way people understand themselves in relationship to the earth. Participating in shoreline cleanups, where kids engage with the realities of pollution on a smaller and relatable scale, affords them the ability to understand the complexities of ecosystems and human impact. Participating in natural world socialization refers to when adults and peers encourage a positive connection with nature by keeping a child safe, while allowing independent exploration and appropriate risk-taking, appreciating the child's accomplishments and discoveries, and promoting care for the environment. By granting kids independence in the boats cleaning with peers, they build a sense of collaborative and leadership skills. Further, the buy-in created by centering youth volunteers provides a sense of responsibility for the environment that grows with them as they age. Building constructive hope requires a vision of a possible future, along with the awareness of pathways to reach the goal and the belief in the agency they have. This is critical when considering ecological identities and the two streams of research that detail the potential for children and adolescents to look at the climate crisis with hopelessness. By providing meaningful experiences in nature like shoreline cleanups that center children as agents of change and allow them to think holistically and critically about complex societal and cultural issues, what we are instilling in them are problem-focused and meaning-focused coping mechanisms. While emotion-focused coping mechanisms seek to escape painful feelings with avoidance, problem-focused coping mechanisms allow us to address the problems that cause negative feelings, and meaning-focused coping mechanisms find positive values when confronting problems. This is critical as it builds resiliency required for an ongoing fight against the climate crisis, as it will not be solved overnight. This continues to ensure young people of their capabilities to create positive ecological change.
During our initial meeting with David, we discussed the inspiration for Stem2Stern and David's ambition for expanding the organization through environmental stewardship. He wanted to continue to work with the London community as he had a strong support system of volunteers here. We drafted specific goals for the Stem2Stern environmental stewardship programs to ensure that our deliverables would be specific and concise. To continue attracting new volunteers, we created both in-school and social media advertisements directed towards children, and a separate brochure for both David and the school board to utilize in negotiations with incoming potential partnerships within the London community. As a group, we met almost weekly with David to provide updates on our literature review on adolescent environmental stewardship. Much of our project, in addition to the deliverables, was focused on providing a research foundation for David to facilitate his expansion to environmental stewardship. Fundamental to this process was our collaborative approach of creating key search terms lists and weekly discussion between our own groups of key themes in our individual research so that everyone was on the same page. Brianna contacted the London Environmental Network to assure them of safety precautions and discuss the feasibility of school-aged children cleaning up polluted rivers and ultimately determine which shoreline cleanup dates were mutually beneficial. At David's recommendation, we were even able to provide suggestions for future cleanup locations not currently on the roster at the London Environmental Network. Our greatest challenge that we faced was the breadth of information provided in the brochure. For example, our project focused on providing boats and volunteers for shoreline cleanups, but David expressed wanting to work with other organizations for stewardship practices such as water testing. It was important to us that the brochure be versatile enough to account for this as well.
We discussed 3 deliverables that effectively communicate Stem2Stern's mission, raise awareness among school-age children of the opportunities available to them, and provide a brief synopsis for convenient and versatile advertising via social media. The goals of the brochure were to deliver boating measurements and logistics, inform organizations of the safety precautions taken when working with children on the water, and to deliver the 4 goals of a Stem2Stern partnership for the student volunteers. 1. Facilitate connectedness to nature. Children's sense of nature connectedness is associated with greater levels of emotional and cognitive regulation, an indirect link to happiness. 2. Create experiences in the natural world. Spending time in natural spaces makes kids want to guard the environment. A study found that children who visited a nature center reported feeling more closely connected to nature and expressed a greater willingness to protect nature. 3. Foster a pro-social environment that plays an important role in children's environmental knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors. Peers are important socialization agents. Thus, individuals who participate with friends are more likely to continue pro-environmental behaviors with age. 4. Give children the language to initiate family conversations about climate change to increase self-reported ecological behaviors and environmentally sustainable choices. In addition to the informational brochure, the school posters and social media advertisements we created are targeted more towards the students to motivate them to participate as volunteers.
The most impactful part of this CEL project for me has been reaching out to the London Environmental Network. This was my first community-based project, and gaining the theoretical and practical skills necessary to successfully cold call organizations and coordinate the shoreline cleanup logistics on behalf of David and Stem2Stern was the highlight of the project for me.
Throughout this project, I learned the importance of establishing concrete goals and objectives early and to make them attainable, as we have learned in this course that this is often difficult and always important in the field of health promotion. This is the first very collaborative and open-ended project I have worked on like this, and it taught me a lot about project management, focusing goals, and working as a team with partnering organizations beyond just a school project.
During this amazing process, the most important thing that I took away was that there's always room to add to our creations. David's organization, Stem2Stern, was already established and an amazing initiative that had created so many learning opportunities for many children. However, looking at it from an environmental perspective, we realized that by adding an environmental aspect, the children are able to take away more skills while also benefiting the environment and the organization.